Atlanta's streets are humming more loudly than before, and the conflict between Yandy and Rashida isn't the only thing at stake this time. According to recent rumors, Mendeecees has personally been affected, and what fans are hearing astounds them. Following Kirk Frost's vehement warning against Yandy, there are rumors that Mendeecees is enraged and prepared to intervene and defend his wife in a way that would completely upend the hip-hop and love scenes. There's no stopping the blogs. Fans are asking the same topic, and social media is exploding. When two husbands clash in the midst of a conflict that was already getting out of hand, what happens? There are hints from insiders that Yandy was not the only person shaken by Kirk's warning. It gave Mendeecees a spark that he is determined not to let go of. Are families being drawn more into the drama by this latest confrontation? Or simply more smoke to get things moving? There is no denying that the tension is high and that everyone is curious about Mendeecees' current plans. It has caught his wife in the crossfire. This narrative is going to get ugly, so buckle up. When word got out about Kirk's warning to Yandy, it traveled more quickly than anyone could have predicted. The video kept getting replayed by fans. The clip became a headline on blogs. One name began to trend alongside it. In the midst of all the chaos, Mendeecees, people were curious about his reaction and how he felt after witnessing his wife square up against Rashida and then being caught off guard by Kirk's rage. The curiosity was only stoked by the stillness from his camp, and the conjecture grew stronger with each passing second. There were rumors that Mendeecees was furious as soon as he heard the video. He was pacing the floor and shaking his head, according to family sources, in shock that Kirk would even consider going over that cue. "I hope he stays in his lane." He was allegedly overheard by an insider who said, "Because the second he threatens my wife, he threatens me too." Fans were enthralled, picturing the composed yet guarded husband prepared to reveal a side that is rarely shown on screen. However, it was not the end of the story. According to the rumors, Means made it plain that he wasn't going to overlook the situation by reaching out to Kirk's close friends and family. The conflict between the ladies gave way to an impending confrontation between the husbands, a dynamic that has the potential to completely alter the course of the season. It had more weight because of the familial element. It was more than just shade. This was more than mere rumors. This was a sign of pride and defense. Captured in the midst, Rashida allegedly attempted to minimize the issue behind the scenes by claiming that Kirk's remarks were made in a moment of rage and weren't intended to intensify things further. Fans, however, didn't buy it. They emphasized how Kirk's clenched fists, his voice cracking with controlled wrath, and his body language conveyed a distinct message. Rashida's hand on his arm seemed to sense that he was only a few seconds away from doing something irrevocable. However, Yandy wasn't going to let the moment go unnoticed. She added gasoline to the flames in her own subtle way. She made hints that she wasn't afraid, that Kirk had merely shown her point, and that no threat could make her stop talking. The blog went into a frenzy after she told a group of fans during a live session, "I've got people in my corner." Her tone was calm but confident, and everyone knew exactly who she was referring to. The more she spoke, the more it felt like an open invitation for Mendeecees to step in and show the world that she didn't stand alone. A headline that read, "Family Feud turns deadly serious," and another that said, "Whether the stories were true or not almost didn't matter anymore." The perception was enough. Mendeecees ready to protect Yandy against Kirk Frost. Some fans pointed out that Means had always carried himself with quiet strength, preferring to avoid unnecessary drama, which made the rumors even more shocking. They were picturing what it would look like if Kirk and Mendeecees met in person. And the idea of two men known for their calm exteriors finally losing control became irresistible. "This ain't going to end well." The commentary sections flooded with comments, and for others it was about loyalty, admiring that Means was willing to stand up for his wife, even if it meant clashing with someone he'd known for years. If a man who usually kept his cool was now prepared to confront Kirk, then the situation was more serious than anyone had imagined. If Kirk thought Rashida was loud, wait until he sees Mendeecees step in, one user commented. As people debated who was right, who was wrong, and who would win if the husbands ever really clashed, hashtags like Tatter Team and Albert Team Rashida trended concurrently. According to friends of the cast, producers were anxious. They didn't want the situation to escalate into a violent altercation between the men, especially given they both had families and reputations to defend. But they also couldn't overlook the possibility of higher ratings. Drama sells, one source muttered. They are aware of this plot, even though they don't want it to get ugly. The true question on everyone's mind was how far Mendeecees would go. It's gold. Fans are hooked and will do anything to keep the cameras rolling. Would he let the tension build and wait for the proper opportunity? Or would he go straight to Kirk? According to some, he was already getting ready for a private meeting. Others asserted that he intended to handle it in public to make it abundantly evident that disrespecting his wife would not go unpunished. In any case, the suspense was sufficient to keep followers riveted to every news flash, every whispered story, and every rumor about what might occur next. Yandy appeared nearly composed in the midst of it, as though she understood just what she was doing. Many others thought she had anticipated this response from the beginning and had always been astute at manipulating the story. She had subtly brought Mendeecees into the spotlight by entangling Kirk in the quarrel, and now the drama had doubled in scope. What started as a heated argument between two females had turned into a home conflict in front of millions of spectators, testing both couples. And just as it appeared that all could be resolved, fresh rumors surfaced that Mendeecees had already addressed Kirk directly. It's still unclear what was said in the purported call. However, the fact that just the rumor acquired so much traction demonstrates the level of commitment people had. Fans conjectured endlessly. Was Kirk warned to back off by Mendeecees? Was Kirk sorry? Or did what the two men said set off a new level of tension that was just itching to explode? The suspense was heightened by the uncertainty, which left everyone wondering how this tale would develop further. Fans couldn't stop wondering what actually happened as rumors of Kirk and Mendeecees having a private talk spread like wildfire. According to several insiders, the conversation took place on the phone. Others said it was a heated in-person encounter, arranged by pals who were desperate to prevent the drama from getting out of hand. The theme of the whispers was the same regardless of whose version individuals chose to believe. Means reportedly warned Kirk, "You crossed the line," in a calm but foreboding tone. Means didn't take Kirk's threat lightly, and his fury was impossible to ignore. "You can say whatever you want about me, but you never show up." According to those who said they heard the conversation, Kirk attempted to dismiss it as heat-of-the-moment talk, but Mendeecees wasn't persuaded. "For my wife like that." Fans who read the purported voice then said, "Heat of the moment don't make you threaten a woman. That's not man behavior, and you know it." Social media was inundated with responses to the transcript of this altercation. Mans was hailed by some as the epitome of loyalty for defending Yandy. One comment received hundreds of likes saying, "That's what a real husband does." However, some contended that Means was simply being pushed to the limit and Kirk had already reached his breaking point, putting more fuel to the fire. This could have been resolved amicably, but now it's a full-scale family conflict. According to another fan, Rashida was enraged that Kirk's outburst had brought their marriage back into the public eye, resurrecting previous wounds she had worked so hard to heal. But at the same time, she felt torn between defensiveness and humiliation. At the same time, she firmly defended her husband by telling acquaintances, "Yandy has been teasing us for too long. Although Kirk isn't flawless, no one can treat him that way without my intervention as well." Her remarks simply served to heighten the tension when it became apparent that the conflict was amongst couples rather than just Kirk and DC. During a late-night live session, Yandy teased fans by saying, "All I'll say is, my man, don't." Others claimed that in order to capture what might be one of the most explosive scenes in the franchise's history, executives were frantically deciding behind the scenes whether to keep the men apart or put them together on camera. If this is filmed, the ratings will soar. According to reports, one unnamed producer acknowledged that viewers are already locked in. Everyone is curious about Kirk's ability to withstand pressure and how far Mendeecees will go. The suspense was intoxicating for fans. Predictions flooded message boards. Some believed Mendeecees would publicly challenge Kirk in front of the whole group, making him take responsibility for his remarks. Others said he had bided his time, waiting for the ideal moment to attack Kirk at the most inconvenient moment. The quiet before the storm was only making matters worse, everyone agreed. Additionally, when the guys became the focus of conjecture, the impact on their families was as striking. According to those close to Rashida, she was having difficulty maintaining her household and was concerned that Kirk's reputation was once again going haywire. According to one source, she's exhausted. Weary of constantly becoming the face of damage control, weary of defending him, and weary of being pulled into a disaster she didn't cause. Conversely, Yandy is said to felt validated and told pals she had no regrets about what she said. She allegedly said, "I didn't force Kirk to lose his cool. He did that all on his own." As emotions ran high, fans started going through earlier episodes, saying, if speaking truth makes people uncomfortable, that's on them. Bringing up all of the dubious incidents involving Kirk and Yandy to demonstrate how long this rivalry had been developing. Many people thought that the side eyes, subtle barbs, and quiet shade in the clips that went viral online hinted to the present outburst. One admirer wrote on Twitter, "This has been simmering for ages. We simply were unaware of its depth." Then the unexpected turn of events occurred. There were rumors that Means wasn't just upset. He was going to do something more than just express his anger. According to insiders, he had previously threatened to split the cast by telling mutual acquaintances that he would not attend the same gatherings as Kirk. If accurate, it would put alliances to the test and force all members of Atlanta's close-knit community to take sides. The fan base was shocked by the prospect of such a divide. In the hopes that the men would resolve their differences before the performance devolved into a battleground, several pleaded for reconciliation. Others, "But we were craving more. Let them fight," a fan wrote uncompromisingly. The comment provoked discussion about whether the franchise should support that degree of tension or if the line had already been crossed. "This is the drama we signed up for. Let the men handle it like the women do." Crossed. Even people who usually remain silent were compelled to weigh in because the tension grew so great, according to reports. A cast member wrote in a mysterious message on the internet, "Sometimes silence ain't strength, it's patience." The true pyrotechnics begin when patience runs out. Immediately, fans conjectured that it was about guys seeing it as a warning that things were far from over. There were now more than two families involved in the feud. It was now a topic of conversation in the culture. It was disputed on morning shows by radio hosts. Pages of gossip turned every rumor into front-page information, and supporters nationwide took sides as if it were a heavyweight boxing bout. The magnitude of the response only underlined the importance of this plot point, how profoundly it addressed issues of pride, loyalty, and the complex relationships between reputation and love. Nevertheless, one thing was evident. In spite of all the commotion, Mendeecees wasn't about to fail to respond to Kirk's warning. Everyone was eager to witness the conflict that was set in motion, whether it was through his words, deeds, or the silent but potent weight of his presence. Atlanta was already trembling with rumors of a private altercation between Kirk and Mendeecees. However, what transpired next elevated the entire plot to a new level. There were rumors that producers were secretly preparing to show the two men together on tape. Insiders said the choice wasn't unanimous because they knew that if the tension broke in front of millions of viewers, the numbers would soar. While some believed that things would get out of hand, others contended that this was just what the show required to take over the news. In any case, supporters were already preparing for the prospect of a confrontation in public. Reactions to the concept were immediate on social media. One admirer remarked, "This is about to be a war," and their comment went viral very fast. An additional said, "Forget Rashida versus Yandy. Kirk versus Mendeecees is the real main event." The fan base has changed its perspective, viewing the fight as a conflict between husbands, marriages, and reputations, rather than as a nasty shade between two women. When Mendeecees himself made a subtle post that followers instantly related to the drama, the tension only increased. Although it was indirect, the meaning seemed clear. Alongside a picture of himself and Yandy, he added, "Always protect what's yours." Though brief, the caption said a lot. Supporting comments poured in from fans who saw it as a direct warning to Kirk that boundaries had been exceeded and that there would be repercussions. Inevitable. Kirk, for his part, remained conspicuously silent, but he was not immune to conjecture. Some saw his lack of social media activity as an indication of strategy, while others saw it as a symptom of remorse. One admirer tweeted, "He's keeping quiet because he knows Mendeecees is coming for him. He's just letting it blow over," said another. The mystery simply increased the intrigue, regardless of the facts. Kirk always manages to twist things. Rashida, meanwhile, was unable to conceal her annoyance. According to those close to her, she was annoyed at how Yandy and Mendeecees were manipulating the situation. But she was also tired of always cleaning up Kirk's mess. Story. She allegedly told a pal, "It feels like they're painting us as villains just for ratings." The more she resisted, the more resolutely Yandy appeared to stand her ground. And now that Mendeecees was intervening, "We've had enough of strangers adding to our marriage." The cast began to split almost immediately after Yandy's entrance into the spotlight, as the feud had grown into something much larger than she could control. Some sided with Kirk and Rashida, claiming that Yandy had pushed them too far with her constant teasing about marriage and scandals, while others praised Yandy for her courage in refusing to back down, even when Kirk's rage was overwhelming. Reached perilous proportions. The division wasn't quiet either, as cast members started using cryptic online messages to disparage each other without naming specifics, which fueled further rumors about everyone's positions. Loyalty is tested in silence, not noise. One cast member wrote, "Fans immediately interpreted it as a poke at Kirk." Another wrote, "Don't cry when a lion roars when you poke it." Each tweet became a guessing game as fans analyzed every word and emoji, searching for hidden meanings. The drama also generated discussions outside of the show, which many interpreted as supporting Kirk's response. "It's not just about Kirk and Yandy," one commentator said, adding that it's about two families, two households, and what happens when boundaries are crossed on national television. Talk radio hosts, bloggers, and even relationship experts weighed in, examining the feud as if it were a case study in pride, masculinity, and marriage dynamics. Then came the most shocking rumor of all. Mendeecees had already told producers he wasn't willing to film with Kirk unless certain conditions were met. Some insiders claimed he demanded an apology on camera, while others suggested he wanted to make the story even bigger and turn it into a cultural talking point that reached audiences who didn't even regularly watch the show. Kirk's public admission that threatening Yandy had been inappropriate sparked a firestorm on the internet. One fan said, "If Kirk apologizes, he looks weak," while another said, "If he doesn't, Mendeecees are going to drag him forever." Fans took sides in the never-ending arguments that resulted from the speculation. In a recent event, Yandy told a group of supporters, "It's one thing to argue with me, but it's another thing to threaten me. And let's just say, I don't fight my battles alone." The crowd cheered, interpreting Yandy's subtle remarks as further fueling the fire. Memes flooded timelines with people making fake posters for Kirk versus Mendeecees, the Battle of Atlanta, and thousands of people shared gifs of boxing matches, wrestling clips, and dramatic stare-downs as the feud intensified. Her remarks were a reference to Mendeecees' readiness to enter the ring. Kirk's supporters maintained that he wasn't as guilty as everyone portrayed him to be, arguing that he was provoked. Even those outside the love and hip-hop fan base couldn't help but join in the discussion, curious to see if the drama would truly deliver. "He was provoked," they said. "If someone continued to bring up his marriage and his background, any man would lose it." However, Yandy's supporters weren't buying it. One fan retorted, "Not all males threaten women, but plenty of men get provoked. That's the distinction." The disputes overflowed into live debates, group conversations, and comment areas, demonstrating only the feud had become so divisive that producers reportedly found it difficult to maintain control over the story. It had spread far beyond the show's boundaries, taking on a life of its own and taking over headlines, with real-life repercussions lurking in the background. Would Kirk and Mendeecees ever sit in the same room again? Would Rashida and Yandy? One thing was evident throughout it all. Mendeecees was no longer a supporting character in this drama. His silence had been replaced by rage. Would anyone ever find peace? Or had the damage gone too far? The unresolved questions kept everyone on edge, feeding the suspense as if the whole situation was a cliffhanger waiting to explode. The tension was only getting higher, and the explosion everyone feared seemed closer than ever. Whether fans saw him as a hero, a husband protecting his wife, or just another player in an endless cycle of drama, his calm with determination and his loyalty to Yandy had become a force that Kirk could no longer ignore. Fans were convinced that Kirk and Mendeecees would eventually be forced into the same room, and every event that was coming up became the focus of intense speculation. When a charity gala in Atlanta was announced, there were rumors that both couples had been invited, and the internet went into overdrive. As the anticipation grew, rumors about a possible public face-off between Kirk and Mendeecees became almost certain. On the night of the event, cameras flashed, spectators gathered outside, and tension was in the air like electricity. Insiders said the atmosphere changed and both couples arrived separately. "This is it," one fan wrote. "The showdown we've all been waiting for." Arriving with Rashida earlier, Kirk reportedly stiffened the moment he realized his rival was in the building. Attendees whispered that the energy between them was palpable, even from across the room. Although he appeared calm, individuals who saw him up close said his expression told a different story: focused, unflinching, and ready for whatever came his way. The unspoken tension drew everyone in, and the gala itself abruptly faded into the background as the real show was taking place between these two families. Yandy walked confidently beside Mendeecees, her head held high as if daring anyone to question her presence, while Rashida clung tightly to Kirk's arm, her jaw set. The audience hushed as the couples finally met, and a tense silence lingered before the first words were exchanged, the kind of silence that made every ear lean closer, every eye sharpen. It is said that producers frantically rushed behind the scenes, uncertain whether to step in or let the drama unfold naturally.